Hello guys, it is Charlie from Top Table TCG here, bringing you a deck profile on my BRO EU Premium deck. This deck is a Gastille OTK variant. So let's get on into the deck. So starting off with the main deck, we are running our 4 copies of Gastille. So this is your main ride target. This is what enables the OTK plays. So the way Gastille works is, at the beginning of your battle phase, you counterblast 1, draw a card, and for every 5 cards in Soul, you can activate one of the abilities. The ability is chosen by the opponent, but it should never come up, because the point in the deck is that you always want to be at 20 Soul before you use this effect. But if you are at 20 Soul, your opponent's Vanguard becomes 1 power, they put a card from hand into their damage zone face down, or your front row gains a critical, and their auto abilities cannot trigger till the end of turn. That means that their GGuards won't work, their perfect guards don't work, their protect markers don't work. A complete lockdown of all auto abilities, which is massive and is what you're kind of reliant on to win the game. Second G3 is our 3 Austere Heater. So this is a card that you don't really see played as much anymore, but the reason you run Austere Heater is because it's so when building the deck, I sort of realized that Emblem Master is, I'd say Emblem Master is, it requires you to already have the stuff, and Poisonic is just not as consistent. The reason I like the Austere Heater is because if you do see it, it just extends, but you don't always need it to extend. But it's a bit more mid-range than the other two. It's kind of a combination of the both. And the last G3 is a very important part of the deck, which is our Hope on Damp. So Hope on Damp is another card very significant for the kill turn. So when you place this, if you have 20 or more cards in Soul, your opponent must guard with direct intervals of original 20 from hand. So that would mean they'd have to guard with a 15 and a 5, or 2 10s. They can't guard with OT because that exceeds 20. Same for critical sentinels, or any other guard that exceeds 20, it's its original power. So again, locks them out of that other variation of sentinels, so no sentinels in the game are working under this and this together. It means they can't throw down 2 15k triggers. It means that every trigger, they need a 5k extra. So that really does help, because a lot of the time the opponent will be sat on like a bunch of triggers in hand for defensive, but if all they have is triggers, they can't guard. That's kind of how you win the deck. And along that and a few other cards, a next card in the deck that I'd say is probably MVP or one of the main cards in the deck is our Rhodia. So the way Rhodia works is she's the 5k base, but she gains 1k for every card in Soul. So what this means is that if you have this on your Vanguard, you can just stack your Soul up, and she's a big body. Because sometimes it takes a while to get all your pieces for the Gastille play. So you can sit pretty comfortably on a big Rhodia base and not really have to worry. Staying on Rhodia means you're staying on grade 2, which means Heal Guardians stay active, which is really good. Next, 2 copies of Kikra. Initially I was considering not running this, but the fact that I run only 2 Hope on Damp, it means I can fetch any card I need out of Soul. The CB is kind of high cost, but I don't know. I feel like in this deck it's kind of necessary just for the deck to function. But 2 copies of this, it doesn't always come up, and it does kind of hurt that you have to discard sometimes for it. And our last 2 G2s, or no, there's 4 more, sorry. You've got your Selfish Engraver, so she's your counter charger on Rearguard. That's her only function. Her going to Soul and you Soul Charging 1 is not really that important. On hit, Soul Charge 1. It's just the fact she can counter charge. She's also 1 more card in Soul, so it basically means that you can do your 2 counterblast kill turn with 1 card in damage face up, just using her. And then 2 copies of Roofun. This is effectively just a grade 2 version of Killer Tail. Just allows you to grab cards out. It doesn't give you the counter charge power, but the fact is I had 3 slots. So this could be like the extra creeper grab out of drop that can Soul Charge you 2 more, just to hit you to that 20. Next onto the grade 1s, 4 copies of Killer Tail, as previously mentioned. Same effect as Roofun, can grab a card from drop but it's Soul, or drop a card from damage but it's Soul. And then she can also counter charge if there's 3 or more, if there's 3 copies of her in Soul. The counter charge doesn't really come up, but she's just an extender that lets us grab creepers into Soul, really. Another MVP of the deck is our copies of Fu Ginlin, or Amon's follower, Fu Ginlin. So the way Fu works is, on Rearguard, put a card from hand to Soul to draw a card. This is once per turn, but if you have like several, you can just you can filter 3 cards, and it also your opponent also puts a card from hand to Soul, and they may draw. So what it means is, in certain matchups, your opponent is just going to filter out like triggers, grade things with 5k shield, not knowing the Hope on Damp turn is coming. And it just forces them to get rid of a lot of their combo pieces. It's a very strong card. It also lets you filter really well. And at the beginning of battle phase, it's also going to allow you to soul charge 1 and give a unit 5k if your opponent has 6 or more in soul, which happens pretty quickly if you open like 1 or 2 of these. By turn 3, they'll easily be at 6 in soul. And then next, the main core like target card of the deck is Creeper. So Creeper's very simple, soul blast it, soul charge 2. So the point is, you get this to drop, you can filter it back in with your Roofins, or filter it back in with your Killer Sails, and you can just keep excelling your soul charge. So the point of the deck is you want to be able to hit 20 in soul at a moment's notice. And a card like Creeper with no cost that allows you to effectively turn himself into a +1 in soul is a really good, or a +2 if you're filtering from drop with a Killer Tail or a Roofin. And then last but not least, summoning 2 copies of Ketsa. This could potentially be bumped up, but the main issue is that it does the same as Creeper, but it binds itself, meaning that it's not recurable. So in some situations, it's nice to have to soul charge 1 more card technically, but overall, the fact that it binds itself means that it doesn't recur itself, means that you can't really combo with it. And then last actual main deck card outside of triggers will be our Assassin. Some people say cut this, I like it. It's 1 extra attack on the limited Gastille Hope on Damp turn. And then onto our triggers, 4 strike crit. This can be anything. You're never using this. If you are, you've probably already lost the game. 2 vanilla crit. So this could be the D to soul crits, but in my opinion, I like the fact that I could use this, and in a struggle turn where I flip to Cyclone, this is a 10k beta. So a 10k beta to a 1 base is actually a significant guard if you don't have a Hope on Damp, because sometimes you won't have a Hope on Damp. And honestly, the gained effect of the criticals isn't significant enough that it makes a card like this much worse. I'd rather just have this with the ability to potentially push harder later. 4-draw PG. You're going to be stalling on Rhodia. Sometimes they have a really good offensive turn and it's got several crits and it hits over your Rhodia. You got to perfect guard it. And then 1 vanilla draw, same sort of reasoning as the crits. You could run the effect draws, it guards for more, but this is just a 10k beater on rear guard. Other trigger I'm using is the vanilla one. So you could use the Dark States, it really doesn't matter. Like, regardless of the OT you pick, if you're preventing the PGs with Gastille, and they're having to guard significantly with Hope on Damp, hitting this on a drive check on the Vanguard will kill regardless. If you're hitting anything like 100 billion, they're already dead, so it doesn't matter. And this also means that you get 1 more of your rear guards bigger. So say they survive this initial attack, you can hit this and power up, say, like a Kikra or a Rhodia on rear that's got the crit from Gastille's skill. And that's 1 more pressure attack. And then last but not least, we have our 4 heal guardians. It's paramount that you run this over the G0 heals, because this is like really significant in our guarding pattern while staying on a G2 base, because it means that we can up our Rhodia from like maybe 29 to 39 to 49 to 59. Just really big numbers that you can keep over guarding the opponent. And then last but not least, I'm using 1 V starter. This could be any V starter. And then of course our quick shield. So onto our GZoom. So the card that enables this deck to work is our copies of Forfax. In the GZoom currently I'm running 2. It really doesn't matter if you're running 2 or 1. Normally you just need 1. There was 1 game in the tournament where this second nearly came up, but not really. But the way it works is, if you have 13 or more of soul, end of battle the Vanguard attacks, you can ditch 5, counterblast 1 to put this on the Vanguard at stand, so you stride it. Put 3 criticals from soul, put them back to deck, shuffle, and he gets triple drive swing. So what it means is, if your opponent's expecting the like normal 4 attacks at a Gastille turn, like that being both rears, an assassin call out, and then the Vanguard, this final push they normally can't guard, and it's kind of what enables the deck to do the OTK play. Overall, just an incredibly strong card. The rest of the G-Zone for strides is kind of just filler. I'm running 2 Garvans, you only need 1, this is just filler. So the Garvans is a struggle stride. If you stride it, you're flipping the Cyclone, as I said earlier. It makes the vanilla triggers kind of big. But this lets you just get that last 5 soul charge, lets you draw your cards. If you have to ride up to G3, this can let you filter for more defensive pieces. It can filter for your heals so that you can access your G-Guards. But overall, this can hit you that last bit of soul you need if you've bricked all your soul extenders. And then 2 copies of our Bloodamos, and our 1 copy of Freiheit. So Bloodamos does come up. If you survive the turn after you Forfax, like 90% of the time you won't, you just deck out. This could just put crits back, and you could actually kill on that turn, depending if you do survive. But since you're ditching 5 off of this, depending on the hand situation, 90% of the time you're not actually going to get through that turn that the opponent's putting up after that. But sometimes this is useful. If you overextend, you need to put triggers back. And then 1 Freiheit, because this can hit you for 2 more soul, which is literally its only purpose. It's just hit up to 20 if you need to. Rest of the GGuards. 3 of the Sortos 2 GGuard. This is literally just here to Sortos 2. In a bad situation, you do this whilst on a Gastille after you've struggle rode into Gastille early because you're scared of their rush, or you just have to ride up because you haven't rode Rhodia. Say you rode into your Kikra as your base, you'd want to ride up just so you have access to your good GGuards. 2 Vincent. Normally one of these is flipped off of Vincent, but I like to keep 3 in here just in case we have to use all 3. It's a terrible situation if we do, but sometimes we do. Soul Charge, 5k for each in Soul. It's just a good defensive card. You don't want to use it too often. 2 of the new GGuard. This card is incredible. So you cancel +1, and for every 10 in Soul, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, or one of your opponent's units, sorry, and it gains -a crit. So this is massive. So it means that even if you have to ride up to Gastille, you can survive most opponents' first strides just off of this, because it limits their ability. So you're playing into like Tachi, and then like quite front focused. Sometimes they run crits. I don't play against Tachi too much, but this means that if you put this on like a Neberos or one of their rear guards they want to keep around, this just stops them from playing. Like if you're not hitting crits on the drives of the Vanguard and you're not gaining crits on your Vanguard skill, this just makes their whole turn null and void. Like you only need 2 CB for the deck to work, or 1 if you have the DG2. But yeah, this card just enables you to guard most things. And then 1 Vincent, not Vincent, sorry, Saint Germain. You could bump this to 2. It's not necessary at 2, but you can. It just enables the resist plays that you can do if you're in a pinch. So in terms of how I did in the event, I went 5-3. So first 2 games, honestly, just RNG bricks. I didn't see any of my pieces, and I overextended in game 2. Then game 3 I won, game 4 I lost, and then I won every other game from there on. But overall, it's a really fun deck. The main thing to keep in mind is knowing when to ride up and knowing when to extend. Because if you overextend, you get rid of the hand or you deck out. Like it's a deck that's a bit finicky with that. It's about knowing the matchup and it's about knowing what they're able to do on that first stride. If you can shut them down before first stride, that's just ideal. And stalling on G2 Rhodia kind of enables that. I'd like to give a quick shout out to Noto. She really helped me build this deck. She made me want to build the DI deck, and she gave me a lot of help with putting the list together, so I can only thank her for that. I'll leave her Twitter link in the description below. But yeah, that has been my BRO Dark Regulus Gastille deck list. Hope you enjoyed. Feel free to give the video a like, hit the subscribe button, and thank you guys for watching.